Hi everyone, this is Jignesh Ashar. A very good evening to all of you. And firstly, I hope that everyone is well and safe in these challenging times. Quite unprecedented, isn't it? Something which none of us have witnessed in our lives. But yeah, you take it in our strides and move forward. So, I am an author, marathoner. I'm also a banker, a consultant, and I'm also the founding member of a very exciting startup. So, firstly, before we start this conversation, I would like to make it clear that I don't claim to have achieved a kind of a nirvana on work life balance, or I don't claim to be an expert in this. Over the next maybe around 20 minutes, I'm going to share my experience, right? The way my life has been, some of the decisions that I took, and how all these have somehow helped me to reach the stage where I am currently, right? So that's the disclaimer. I'm not an expert, but maybe through our interactions during this conversation, or maybe even later, um, if we can exchange some notes and it can be of any help, that'll be really useful, which we can take away from this session, right? I would also like to thank Chola MS for this wonderful opportunity. So thank you guys. It's really nice of you to invite me here. So where do I start, right? So let me start when I was a child, right? And what I was really interested in was any creative aspect, right? So I used to love painting. I loved reading, writing, and when I say writing, it was I used to look forward to writing essays in school, etc. Those kind of things, right? Um, Vacations and all free time was spent in reading and drawing. So typically, at least my painting assignments, even in school, used to be finished the first, and I used to kind of, in that sense, overachieve there, right? So we had to submit 36 paintings. I remember at the end of the year, I would probably do a 50, 55 and submit it because I used to just love it, right? And if I now look back, right, and if I had to relive some of those moments, then probably I would have chosen a more creative field, right? Um, but because of various reasons that take place in our lives and circumstances, that just remained a part of my school life, right? Or which just ended with my school life as an hobby, right? Or something which I was good at. At least I thought that, right? Um, and ultimately, I went in for engineering, right? Which most people who want to take up a job would do, right? So, and maybe some of you who are probably my age, midlife or beyond, would probably resonate with this that the career options in probably our times, right, were fairly limited, right? So you become an if you wanted a job, right? So you probably take up engineering or become a doctor, a CA, etc. I chose engineering, right? Why I honestly don't know. Um, and obviously the primary objective of doing engineering was that you'll get a good job once you are through with it. And I did get it right from campus. I joined a very renowned company, still existing, thriving. I joined that, and clearly that time the objective was that in software. So it was a software firm, and join karenge, and then we'll go to the US, right? So that was the clear dream, so to say. And it did happen. A couple of years into my job, the opportunity was there to go to the US. I didn't take it, right? And that was probably the first major decision, conscious decision that I took in my life, right? And the reason was I was working on very proprietary systems here with that software company, which were mainframes and which didn't have much use outside of their clientele, right? So I could continue doing the same work in the US, or the other option was that I continue or I get a new project with a new technology, and that was a development of internet utility, right? Which at that time, probably in 94, 95, was really big, right, and very new. And I chose the latter, right? So I chose to stay back and work on that. Um, so worked on something completely new. Really enjoyed that, uh, but then not really satisfied in that sense. That thought that I should probably do something more. And I thought, why not a management degree, right? So an MBA, and so I applied for that, got selected from one of the premier institutes in the country, and did my management, right? And at the end of those 2 years, which was in '99, um, I joined a foreign bank, right? Very leading multinational bank, uh, still one of the biggest in the country in India, and one of the biggest globally as well. And that was where I spent a bulk of my career, right? So around 19 years with the organization. Great place to work, learned a lot, um, and did a lot of stints within retail bank, uh, did stints in risk, in business transformation, etc. Now, even there, somewhere what I couldn't completely adjust my thinking uh, was to a culture of working beyond a certain time, working late, working weekends, and somewhere I thought that some balance has to be there, right? I mean, although when you are young at the start of your career, ambitious, all these things you would say, yes, I will probably achieve. And sometimes there is, if one leaves a little early, and when I say early, you leave at 6:37, and there are sometimes jokes like, are you taking a half day, and etc. Right? So people just expect you to work late, etc. And then the work just consumes you, right? But thankfully, the organization and the leadership there took a decision that we probably need to have a good balance. And when they asked for a volunteer from the business side to lead their entire initiative around a 5 day working week, I raised my hand. And then, because that gave a great way to have a work life balance, not only for myself, but overall, right? It was an organization thing, and I took the initiative to lead that. So that was a very good first foray, so to say, in managing the work and the life. And of course, there was a selfish interest as well in that, right? Um, After around 18, 19 years, as I mentioned, right, with the organization, again, I felt the need that yeah, life may something else one has to do, right? I mean, it can't be just work and more work, right? And sometimes you end up doing similar projects in a corporate, and which uh, you stop adding value to yourself, right? Clearly, I mean, if you're working and the projects have to be successful, if there is a client interface, you have to deliver. But somewhere you feel that, am I doing enough with my life, right? And that was the restlessness that I started feeling around that time. So in 2015, right, was my first major, so to say, initiative to add some more value to my life. Okay, and that came in the form of running. And I had been a hopeless sports person in my entire life until then. And as if one has to speak to some of my schoolmates, they will kind of vouch for that jigs and running or anything to do with, other than cricket, which is almost like religion in India. He won't do anything, right? Won't participate in any of sporting events. And running is something I actually hated. And that was a time when my wife said that she was interested in running. So she joined this running and fitness club, which is close to our house. If any of you are familiar with Mumbai, it's in a place called Shivaji Park. I stay at Dadar. Um, so I used to drop her every morning, right? 4 days a week. which was at around 5:30, 5:40 in the morning. So I used to drop her and then probably just walk around a bit or sit in the car or sometimes head back to the gym, and then on a few days pick her up as well. Right? And actually, she then initiated me into this. She said there are a lot of people our age, a lot of like-minded, fun people to be with, and it's a great way to exercise. So why don't you also start? And I was honestly very, very hesitant, right? Very reluctant. And some of my friends used to tease me as a reluctant runner. But I did join, I took the plunge. And the funny thing which I would like to share here is I actually went to a friend of mine, um, who's uh, an athlete when you compare him to me, right? And I went to him and I said, okay, I won't name him because I'm sure he's watching and he'll beat me up after this. So what brand of shoes should I buy? Because I've just started running. Right? And he just laughed it off. He said, "Oh, and running is not going to go a long way. So if you last 3 months and you are still running, I will suggest some brands. Otherwise, just wear whatever you haven't run, right?" So I started, but I surprised myself, and I actually started loving it. Right? And for a guy who had never run in his life, to start running, participating in marathons, not only here, but I have actually traveled to a lot of places around the world and participated in marathons. Which, if somebody had told me a few years back that you are actually going to go to say New York or Amsterdam and you are actually you are going to go there to run, I would have said that's absolutely ridiculous, right? But it happened, right? And I think it changed my life in more ways than one. So, and now I still run. I know the with the lockdown, etc. I still try and sneak in around 4-5 kilometers every day. Run, walk. I hope none of the cops are watching this, but yeah, I do that still. Um, Great for the fitness, and absolutely great if you want some time alone to introspect. And where it has helped me the most, the running part, is when I'm writing, right? And I'll come to my writing part in a bit. So if a lot of times, and you would have heard about a writer's block, or if you want to think about a new plot to the story, right? Or if you're stuck somewhere, I actually look forward to the runs. And when you are running alone with nothing else, and that's the best time that I can think of how to resolve those points, right? So benefits to anyone who has been running or is thinking of running. Great thing, please do it. Um, Let me now talk a bit about how I got into writing. Right? And this again started in around 2017. And as I mentioned, in the beginning of this conversation, that when I was in school, um, I, I I don't know. I used to enjoy writing, but that was it, right? And it just stopped. And school में मतलब क्या, what will you write? Some essays and that, but that was probably the favorite part of my studies, right? Or the creative aspect. Um, but somehow again here, and my wife found out that there is a creative writing class, and why don't you kind of enroll for that? And I said, okay, why not? Let's have a shot. And coincidentally now, and a lot of times during this conversation, you will hear coincidentally, or somebody suggested. And I'll just pause here and say that that plays a very, very important role in the way your life shapes up. That sometimes there are coincidences, sometimes there are opportunities which you have to grab. Um, and when you actually have a good work-life balance, um, it's not only you. There are a lot of people who will play their part in making you achieve that. And so always be on the lookout for these small opportunities, and who are the ones who are encouraging you or prodding you to achieve that, right? Because that really works and that really helps. So the coincidence was that around mid of 2017, there was this again a very renowned institute in Mumbai, um, running a creative writing course for around 9 weeks. So it was once a week for a couple of hours, uh, and it was very close to my erstwhile office. So evenings I could leave early, go there. So again, when I said support, that you need to achieve such balances, is a very supportive line manager at that time, and I told him that every Wednesday I'll leave early. I'll leave by 5:45, 6, because I'm attending his classes, and he was all for it, right? So these are a few things which help you achieve what you finally end up achieving, right? So thanks to all these guys in my life. Um, and I was honestly fascinated by the creative writing course, right? I never understood, I had never anticipated that writing could have so many nuances and so many things to learn about it, right? And of course, there are different views where a lot of renowned writers feel that you don't need writing classes to learn about writing, right? It just has to come naturally, right? And then there is another school of thought which says that no, you probably learn a bit more about writing, and I certainly did, right? So there were dedicated sessions around building a character. There were sessions around plotting a story. There were sessions around dialogue writing, right, and how dialogues can take a story forward. And of course, during the course of those 9 weeks, there were regular assignments which we had to write and submit, right? And that's somewhere where even the writing coach there, uh, when she read what I was submitting, she said that there is something, and you should pursue it. You should not just let it go as just some course that you did and then forgot about it. So I continued that. One of the key things I learned there was writing is neither an art and nor a science, right? It's a good balance of both. So when you say art, uh, it is about thinking of a new plot, thinking of a new idea, or thinking of a new story, right? But how do you build that entire thing together is actually a science, and that was a very surprising element which I learned there. So if you look at any good movie, right, and you think of a great movie that you enjoyed, so take the example of a Sholay, right? Take the example of a Dangal, right? Or any movie which you love, right? And if you actually think back and relate it to a story graph, all these movies follow a certain graph. Okay, so there are three distinct acts to the story, right? Like you would have heard of a three-act play, right? So exactly there's a beginning, there's a middle, and then there is an end, right? And then there are conflicts which are there. There are low points and high points, and all of these follow exactly a similar graph. Okay, there are actually graphs which are known as Freytag's diagram, right? Which all you can link to these good stories, right? So good stories which are narrated well and which are written well. So that was an eye opener, and that's something that has stayed with me for the last 4 years. And I try to incorporate that whenever I write. Right? Um, so again, and again, I'll talk about a coincidence which has played a huge part in the way my life has shaped up. Um, so again, coincidentally, I saw that around the same time, um, there is a Times of India organized nationwide contest, right? It's called Write India, and currently 3 seasons are done. In 2017, it was season 2, and I was in the middle of this writing course, and one fine morning, I just turned the newspaper and I saw that there was the advertisement inviting entries um, for that month. So the way, for those of you who don't know about the Write India contest, it's every month it runs for 10 months in a year, and every month there is a very very famous author who gives a prompt, right, to write a story, and then participants write, send in their entries, and the author actually judges and then announces the winners, right? So for that month, I saw the photograph of Jeffrey Archer staring back at me, right, from the Times of India, and he's like, if anyone loves reading fiction, he's probably either your favorite or certainly within your top three favorites for everyone. and so was the case with me, right? And so I read the prompt, and I wrote a short story, and I made a submission, and then I forgot about it. Right? Didn't expect anything. But again, luckily, and probably the story was also good. I won in that, right? And that was a huge booster, which I would say, which propelled me in the direction of writing. Um, and the following month, again in the same season, but another author, which was again the renowned Miss Shobha Day. It was her prompt. Again, I participated, and again I won. Right. So, and that kind of just made me believe in myself that if I can win these, which are judged by such renowned authors, such a renowned competition, then probably I should not just give it up, right? And that's actually how I got encouraged and initiated into writing. And again, coincidence, right? So around this time, a very well-renowned author of India, right, Mr. Ravi Subramanian. So I know Ravi from before. We had worked for a bit together in the same organization, although not directly, but I knew him. And he read the story that I had written for Jeffrey Archer, which was a thriller, right, which is the one that I won. And he read it, and around the same time, Ravi and uh, a very famous publishing house in India, Westland, they were planning to come out with a series of new books, right, which were thrillers called Shorts. The series is called Shorts, and they were looking for first-time authors who could co-write with Ravi. So Ravi called me and he said, "I read this book, this story of yours, The Way It Is Killing, as it is called, and I loved it. It's in the thriller genre, which is the genre that we are exploring with Shorts. And would you like to co-write a novel with me?" And I mean, that is like a godsend for someone who is just initiated in writing. I said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to co-write, and that's how I got into writing my first novels. Right? So the two novels that the plots again that we thought of, discussed together, and got into writing uh, is Insomnia and A Brutal Hand. So both these novels, although they were not planned to be released together, but because of the pandemic last year, etc., they both released together on the 7th of September 2020. Um, and both have done exceedingly well. So really thrilled about that. The reception has been awesome. Um, in fact, A Brutal Hand has also been selected as one of the top 50 books by an Indian author for the year 2020. And even in terms of sales, etc., both have done well. So touch wood. Um, and currently, with these, at least in the writing field, I've finished my third book, which is a solo book, a solo thriller again, uh, titled The Strike of the Serpent, and it is lying with the publisher. Should probably get published in August or September this year. And as we speak, I have initiated the work on my fourth book. So I've started writing it. Again, it's a thriller. So, I mean, a lot of these coincidences, encouragement, and support from a few people, which opened up this door for me, and I got into writing. Um, Again, this and this is something that I was discussing with my family just a few days back, right? And it was completely I had completely forgotten this part of my life, right? And suddenly it all came back that when I was in school and my English teacher, right? She had read my essays, and once she had called me to the teacher's room and said that, Jignesh, I read your essays, the way you write, and someday maybe you can write a book. And this was when I was in the ninth grade, right? And I had completely blanked out on this conversation, right? And it all came rushing back when I started writing, and my novels won the accolades, right? So there is something which was there in the subconscious, which probably someone else recognized, right? A teacher, a mentor recognized, which as a kid I couldn't, right? And something which came back to me very recently. Um, again, on writing, when I started to pursue it seriously, and for anyone who's wanting to pursue writing seriously, unless you make it really big, um, you can't really uh, depend on writing for a livelihood. Okay, so let me just, not to discourage anyone, but just a reality check, right? But if you love writing like I do, you want to write and build your own library of a few books over the years, um, you have to give it time. Right? It can't be that you write only over the weekends. You have to give it some time, dedicate it, right? So I started giving it. I quit my corporate job, right, with the multinational organization that I'm speaking about, and I joined the World Bank Group as a consultant. So flexible hours, working half the month. Uh, Even when I'm working, I have flexi hours, so I could actually dedicate time to the two other passions that I have, which is running and writing, and that's how I could probably achieve some more balance in my life, because I really wanted to do it and I had to find the time to it. Along the same time, I found the opportunity to work as a founding member of a startup in the fintech space. So I took that up, learning a lot of things, learning a lot of new things, very exciting, working with a lot of millennials there. Um, they have a completely different mindset. I'm sure some of you are watching our millennials yourselves, but very exciting to work with that. Right? I give some time to learning music as well. Um, Maybe some of you can see a guitar hanging behind me. Um, I do hope my guitar trainer is not watching this, because he thinks I just create a lot of noise and not play the guitar. But I'm trying to. If you're there, but it does help me relieve the stress whenever I play that. Right. Um, so I would just like to summarize the conversation, and then I can probably look at some comments and questions if there are. Um, if you recollect the way I introduced myself, right, the order was author, marathoner, and banker, right? And that probably says uh, things about what really matter in life for me, right? So I do love my work. Uh, I love every minute of when I'm working, but it does not consume me, right? So mentally, I have adapted myself that way. Again, work is a very important part of my life, and it should be for all of us. But let it not be the only thing in your life. Okay. Um, I have been following my passion. I have been following what I love, and I would really encourage all of you to do that. And sometimes, as I mentioned, it's people who are close to you who recognize that fire, and they will encourage you. You have to just be on the lookout for these clues um, from your near and dear ones, and then grab them. Right. Um, Biggest thing is finding the time, right? I think there is always time to do what you really want to do, right? So not having time, to me, is an excuse, right? So there are um, a lot of hours in the day, and I would really encourage that everybody finds time to do what you want. And finally, I think adaptation, right? So as I mentioned, I have been doing the work from home routine since 2018. So last year, when a lot of us were forced to work from home because of the pandemic, um, I didn't have to adapt a lot, right? But I have been keeping a very positive mindset. So initially, yes, it was difficult from moving to a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 7 corporate life into working from home. It was a little difficult to adjust. I will not say it wasn't. Um, but if you like it, you have to just adapt yourself, right? And if there is one thing that this pandemic has taught us, is that if you love something, do it now. Okay, because all the planning, all the future planning that all of us might have, might just fall flat on its face in front of nature and such, widespread circumstances. So whatever you want to do it now. And I would just like to end with two quotes or two phrases which are very, very dear to me. So the first one is in terms of ambition in life, all I want is an extraordinary, ordinary life. Okay, so that's the way I want. If each day of my life is the same, the way I'm leading, I'm very happy. Okay, and the second is all of us are born with a lot of talents, right? And all of us can acquire a lot of talents. But at the end of my journey, and when I sign off, and when I meet my creator, and when my creator asks that, what did you do with all the talent that I gave you? I want to say I used all of it. So with that, thank you all for watching. I know I've spoken a lot, so I'm just going to quickly see if there are any uh, comments here. So just bear with me if I see any comments. Um, or if there are any questions, I'm very happy to take them. Okay, so one of the questions that I see is which part of writing or running or the work part with the startup do I enjoy the most? And my answer to that is what I'm doing at that moment I really enjoy the most, right? So right now what I'm most enjoying is having this conversation. Uh, so yeah, I think that's probably the trick for me to be happy. Um, I Yeah, there are a few other questions, but I'm I'm sorry. I think we are running out of time. It's already around 32 minutes past. So, but I have these questions and comments, and I'll be very happy to address it one on one. So, thank you so much for sparing the time today. Thank you for joining me live, and thank you once again, Chola MS, for this wonderful opportunity. And I do hope that all of us find the happiness and the balance that we are looking for in our lives. And stay safe, all of you. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And see you soon. Bye bye.